Dear grade 12 students, how are you all? Today we're going to continue our videos on Beowulf, and the title of today's part is The Battle with Grendel's Mother. Then Edgitho's brave son spoke. Who is Edgitho's brave son? This is a kenning for Beowulf. Beowulf said before his battle against the monster's mother, or Grendel's mother, "Remember, Hrothgar, O knowing king, now when my danger is near, the warm words we utter, and if your enemy should end my life, if Beowulf's mother should end my life, if she kills me, then be, O generous prince, forever the father and protector of all whom I leave. Be the father and protector of all the men I leave behind me. Here in your hands the 14 men who came with me from Geatland, my beloved comrades, my beloved friends, left with no leader, their leader dead. This if the monster's mother kills him, okay? And the precious gifts you gave me, my friend, the gold you gave me, send them to Hygelac, my king in Geatland. May he see in their golden brightness the Geats' great lord gazing at your ledger. The Geats' great lord is Hygelac, again, kenning. That here in Denmark I found a noble protector, a giver of rings, Hrothgar, whose rewards I won and briefly relished. I was happy, I enjoyed this treasure or these rewards for just a short time. And you, Onferth, remember Onferth, who belittled or questioned Beowulf's bravery when he first came to Denmark before killing Grendel. But now Onferth knows very well that Beowulf is strong and brave. Let my famous old sword stay in your hands. Beowulf left his sword with Onferth. I shall shape glory with Hrunting. Hrunting is the sword Beowulf took from Onferth. So Beowulf gave his sword to Onferth, and Onferth gave his sword to Beowulf, or death will hurry me from this earth. So I'll kill the monsters or Grendel's mother with Hrunting, or she will kill me. As his words ended, after finishing these words, he leaped into the lake. He jumped into the lake, would not wait for anyone's answer. The moving water covered him over. For hours he sank through the waves. He sank underwater through the waves. At last he saw the mud of the bottom. He reached the bottom of the lake for hours. Of course, as we said, he is superhuman. He could dive or sink underwater for hours without being dead. And all at once the greedy she-wolf is a kenning for Grendel's mother, who ruled those waters for 100 years or 50 years, discovered him. She saw him, saw that a creature from above had come to explore the bottom of her wet world underwater. She welcomed him in her claws, clutched at him savagely, but could not harm him. You know why? Because he was wearing his male shirt. Tried to work her fingers through the tight ring-woven mail on his breast, because again it was made with ring-woven or tight ring-woven mail, which was protecting his breast or chest, but tore and scratched in vain. Her work was in vain. She couldn't do anything. Then she carried him, armor and sword and all, to her home. She struggled to free his weapon and failed. The fight brought other monsters swimming to see her catch her victim, a host of sea beasts, a group of sea beasts, who beat at his mail shirt, beat him with hair, stabbing with tusks and teeth as they followed along. while she was carrying him to her cave or to her den. Then he realized suddenly that she'd brought him into someone's battle hall. She brought him with her hands to his battle hall or to her battle hall, and there the water's heat could not hurt him, nor anything in the lake attack him though or through the building's high arching roof. A brilliant light burned all around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. Then he saw the mighty water witch and swung his sword, his ring-marked blade, straight at her head. The iron sang its fierce song, sang Beowulf's strength, but her guest discovered that no sword could slice her evil skin. He hit her strongly with his sword, but he discovered that no stone could slice her evil skin. That haunting, the sword he took from Onferth, could not hurt her, was useless now when he needed it. They wrestled. She ripped and tore and clawed at him. Again and again she tried to hurt him, bit holes in his helmet, and that too failed him. His helmet failed him, and there were some holes in his helmet. For the first time in years of being worn to war, it would earn no glory. The helmet for the first time failed him. It was the last time anyone would wear it. But Beowulf longed only for fame. What he sought again was fame. Leaped back into battle. He tossed his sword aside. He threw his sword aside as long as it's useless. Angry, the steel-edged blade lay where he dropped it. The steel-edged blade, this is a kenning for the sword. If weapons were useless, he'd use his hands. The strength in his fingers. He started his fight against Grendel's mother using the sword, hunting, but after finding out that it was useless, he threw it away and decided to fight her barehanded. So, the strength in his fingers, so fame with the strength in his fingers, in his hands. So fame comes to the men who mean to win it and care about nothing else. He raised his arms and seized her by the shoulder. Anger doubled his strength, because he was angry then. He was double strong. He threw her to the floor. He could throw her down or knock her down to the floor. She fell, Grendel's fierce mother, and the Geat's proud prince, Beowulf, was ready to leap on her, to jump on her, but she rose at once and repaid him with her clutching claws, wildly tearing at him. He was weary, that he was tired, that best and strongest of soldiers, his feet stumbled, and in an instant she had him down. She knocked him down, but this is a close fight. Held helpless, squatting with her weight on his stomach. She sat on his stomach. She drew a dagger, a short sword, as you know, brown with dried blood, and prepared to avenge her only son. But he was stretched on his back and his chest was upwards. This is why she couldn't hurt him. And her stabbing blade was blunted by the woven mail shirt again. For the second time, the mail shirt protects him. He wore on his chest. The hammered links held. The point could not touch him. The point of the dagger could not touch his body. He'd have traveled to the bottom of the earth. Eadguth's son, again Eadguth's son is Beowulf, and died there if that shining woven metal had not helped. And without this mail shirt, he would have been killed now. And holy God, who sent him victory, gave judgment for truth and right, ruler of the heaven. This is kenning for God. Once Beowulf was back on his feet, when he stood up on his feet again and fighting, then he saw hanging on the wall, when he was looking around, he saw hanging on the wall of the cave a heavy sword, hammered by giants, a heavy soul, sword that belonged to Grendel's mother. It was hammered, it was made by giants, strong and blessed with their magic. It was a magic wand, the best of all weapons, but so massive, it was so massive, very big, that no ordinary man could lift its carved and decorated length. He drew it from its scabbard, from its cover, broke the chain on its hilt. There was a chain, he broke it, and then, savage, now angry and desperate, lifted it high over his head, and struck with all the strength he had left, caught her in the neck, and cut it through. He beheaded her, cut her neck with her own sword, with her magical sword, which was made by the giants, broke bones and all. Her body fell to the floor, lifeless, she was dead. The sword was wet with her blood, and Beowulf enjoyed at the sight. The brilliant light shone suddenly, as though burning in the hole, and as bright as heaven's own candle. Uh, Heaven's own candle is the sun, lit in the sky. He looked at her home, then, following along the wall, went walking, his hands tight on the sword, his heart still angry. He was hunting another dead monster. He found the body of Grendel lying on the floor of the cave, and he took his weapon with him for final revenge against Grendel's vicious attacks, his nighttime raids. Because Grendel used to attack the whole Herod and kill many people every night, Beowulf decided to avenge their deaths. Over and over, coming to Herod when Hrothgar's men slept, killing them in their beds, eating some of these are some of the crimes Grendel had committed before he died. Eating some on the spot, 15 or more. He killed 30, 40, and eating at least 14 or 15 or more of them on the spot, and running to his loathsome, to his hateful or detestable moor with another such sickening meal waiting in his pouch, carrying some other bodies to eat later in his den. But Beowulf repaid him for those visits, found him lying dead in his corner, armless, without one of his arms, exactly as that fierce fighter had sent him out from Herod, then struck off his head with a single swift blow. He cut off his head with one blow of the sword. The body jerked for the last time, it shook for the last time, then lay still. The wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him staring into the monster's lake, they were Hrothgar and his wise men, the Danish people, were waiting for Beowulf's return. So they saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. The waters of the lake were all red. They spoke about Beowulf. They thought that Beowulf was killed. All the gray beards, all the old people, the wise people, all the gray beards here is a kenning for old people or wise people, whispered together and said that hope was gone. Beowulf must have been killed, that the hero had lost fame and his life at once. He came here for fame. He lost both fame and his life at once, and would never return to the living, come back as as triumphant as he had left. Almost all agreed that Grendel's mighty mother or strong mother, that she-wolf, had killed him. The sun slid over past noon. Went further down. The Danes gave up. They lost hope, left the lake, and went back home. Hrothgar with them, the king, all the people left the lake, thinking that Beowulf was dead. The Geats stayed. The 14 people, or his 14 men, sat sadly watching, imagining they saw their lord, but not believing they would ever see him again. Then the sword, they saw Beowulf coming out of water. Then they saw the sword, melted blood. The sword with which he killed Grendel's mother melted, blood soaked, dripping down like water, disappearing like ice, when the world's eternal Lord God loosens invisible fetters and unwinds icicles and frost as only he can. He who rules time and seasons, he who is truly God. The monster's hall was full of rich treasures, but all that Beowulf took was Grendel's head and the hilt of the giant's sword, or jeweled sword. The rest of that ring-marked blade had dissolved in Grendel's steaming blood, so the body of the sword melted or dissolved in Grendel's steaming blood, boiling even after his death. And then the battle's only survivor, Beowulf, of course, this is another kenning, swam up and away from those silent corpses. The water was calm and clean, the whole huge lake peaceful once the demons who'd lived in it were dead. Then that noble protected of all seamen Beowulf swam to land, rejoicing in the heavy burdens he was bringing with him. He was carrying both monsters' heads. He and all his glorious band of Geats thanked God and their leader had come back, or that their leader had come back unharmed. They left the lake together. The Geats carried Beowulf's helmet and his mail shirt behind them. The water slowly thickened as the monster's blood came seeping up. They walked quickly, happily, across roads all of them remembered, left the lake and the cliffs alongside it, brave men staggering under the weight of Grendel's skull. They were carrying Grendel's head and his mother's head, too heavy for fewer than 4 of them to handle. At least each head was carried by at least 4 people. If 3 or 2 tried to carry it, it would be too heavy for them. 2 on each side of the spear jammed through it. There was a spear through the head and 2 people carrying it from each side. Yet proud of their ugly load and determined that the Danes seated in Herod should see it, soon 14 Geats arrived. The 14 Geats, Beowulf and his men, arrived at the hall, bold and warlike, strong, and with Beowulf, their lord and leader, they walked on the mead hall green, the garden of the mead hall. Then the Geats' brave prince entered Herod, Beowulf, covered with glory for the daring battles he had fought. He sought Hrothgar to salute him and show Grendel's head. He carried that terrible trophy by the hair. He was carrying the head by the hair, brought it straight to where the Danes sat, and drinking the queen among them, the queen, Hrothgar's wife, was among them. It was a weird and wonderful sight, and the warriors stared. After being honored by Hrothgar, Beowulf and his fellow Geats return home, where he eventually becomes king. Beowulf rules Geatland for 50 years. When a dragon menaces threatens his kingdom, Beowulf, now an old man, determines to slay, to kill, to butcher the beast. Before going into battle, he tells his men about the royal house and his exploits in its service. Thank you very much. This is the end of our video today.